I used to think that family meant unconditional love. That no matter what, the people who raised you, who watched you grow, would always have your back. But the truth is, sometimes the most dangerous people in your life wear familiar faces. My name is Daniel Carter, and I grew up in a small, quiet town in Oregon. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. My parents ran a successful real estate business. My brother Jeremy was always the charming, confident one, and I was the quiet younger son who mostly stayed out of trouble. But that was just the surface. Jeremy had always been different, controlling, manipulative. From childhood, he had a talent for making everyone believe he was the victim, no matter the situation. If he broke something, I got blamed. If he started a fight, I was accused of provoking him. And no matter what he did, my parents would find a way to excuse it. He's just passionate. He's under a lot of pressure. He didn't mean it. I heard those lines so many times they became background noise. As we grew up, his behavior only got worse. He had this habit of sabotaging anything good in my life. Friends, hobbies, relationships. If Jeremy couldn't control it, he wanted it destroyed. And still, my parents treated him like the sun around which we all orbited. I, on the other hand, was the one who needed to be more forgiving, to understand where your brother is coming from. Then I met Tori. Tori was a nurse at the hospital where I volunteered part-time during college. She was kind, patient, funny in the most unexpected ways. She had this ability to make the world feel quiet and calm, even on the loudest days. We clicked almost immediately, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. I kept our relationship quiet at first. I didn't want to subject her to my family, not until I was sure things were serious. And they were. She became the center of my life, the one person who made me feel safe, seen, and strong. But eventually, I thought she deserved to know the whole me, including my family. I introduced her to my parents and Jeremy during a dinner at our family home. I'll never forget the way Jeremy looked at her, like she was a challenge, not a person. He turned on the charm, asked her inappropriate questions masked as jokes, and made snide comments about me in front of her. I tried to laugh it off, but Tori noticed. She told me later she felt uncomfortable, but wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. That was a mistake. Soon after that dinner, things started happening. Tori began receiving strange phone calls, heavy breathing, hang-ups, distorted voices whispering her name. She'd get odd messages on social media from fake accounts, asking personal questions or making veiled threats. At first, we thought it was just spam or coincidence, but the frequency grew. It became clear someone was targeting her. Then she noticed familiar faces hanging around her workplace. Men who weren't patients, just lingering, staring, sometimes laughing. One of them she recognized from that dinner, one of Jeremy's friends. That was when everything clicked. I was furious. I went to Jeremy with everything, screenshots, call logs, photos. I confronted him face to face. He laughed. He actually laughed in my face and told me I was losing it. That I was just paranoid, and maybe Tori wasn't the angel I thought she was. I saw the look in his eyes. It wasn't denial, it was amusement. This was a game to him, a sick power trip. I snapped, I shoved him, I screamed, and of course that was the moment our parents walked in. They didn't ask what happened. They didn't look at the evidence. They rushed to Jeremy's side, pulled me away from him, and demanded to know why I was attacking my brother. When I tried to explain, they cut me off. My mom said I was just jealous of Jeremy's success. My dad told me I needed therapy, and when Tori tried to defend me, they shut her down too. My father actually said, maybe she's putting these ideas in your head. That night, I realized something heartbreaking. My family wasn't blind. They chose not to see, because if they admitted what Jeremy was doing, they'd have to face the fact that they'd enabled him all these years. I held Tori that night while she cried, telling me she was scared, not just of Jeremy, but of what kind of future we'd have if my family was always this hostile. And all I could think was, God, I've wasted so much of my life trying to earn the love of people who never really saw me at all. And that's when I knew. Protecting Tori, protecting us, meant letting go of the people who should have protected me and never did. After that night, something inside me broke, and something else woke up. I stopped caring about keeping the peace. I stopped trying to win my parents' approval. All that mattered was keeping Tori safe. We started documenting everything. Every call, every message, every time one of Jeremy's friends showed up at the hospital or followed her car, we saved it all. Tori was scared but determined. She wasn't the kind of woman to run from a fight, and this time, neither was I. We took our evidence to the local police department. We sat in a gray, windowless room with a tired-looking officer who listened politely, nodded a lot, and then finally said, "Without direct evidence tying these actions to your brother, there's not much we can do. I couldn't believe it. We had weeks of harassment logged, photos, witnesses. But since none of it showed Jeremy himself doing something illegal, it was like shouting into a void. Tori's hands trembled in her lap the entire way home. My parents, of course, didn't take our side. When they heard we'd gone to the police, they called it a betrayal. My mom said, "We don't air our dirty laundry to outsiders." My dad accused me of trying to destroy Jeremy's life out of envy. But the most devastating moment came when Jeremy called me himself. He didn't even try to hide the smugness in his voice. "You really think the cops are going to save your little girlfriend?" he said, chuckling. "You've always been the weak one, Daniel. You need someone to fight your battles, and now you've dragged her into it." I hung up. My hands were shaking with rage. It didn't stop there. Jeremy filed a formal complaint against me, accusing me of physical assault from our earlier confrontation. My parents sided with him again. They said I was becoming violent, that I was unhinged, and needed serious help. They threatened to remove me from the family payroll and fire me from my position in their real estate firm if I didn't apologize and make peace. Tori and I were already talking about moving. The pressure was building, and we needed out. But part of me still hoped that maybe, just maybe, there was something in my parents worth salvaging. So we agreed to give them one last chance. We accepted an invitation to a family dinner. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, just us, my parents, Jeremy, and my Aunt Claire, who happened to be Tori's former supervisor at the hospital. I thought maybe they wanted to make amends. I should have known better. From the moment we walked in, I knew it was a setup. Jeremy's friends were there, acting like it was some kind of party. My aunt immediately cornered Tori, accusing her of spreading rumors and trying to ruin Jeremy's reputation. My mother sat stone-faced as Jeremy spun lie after lie, claiming Tori had flirted with him, that she'd misread his friendly attention. My dad just nodded along, refusing to look me in the eyes. At one point, my aunt actually said, maybe she's just upset that Daniel isn't enough for her and she's trying to stir up drama. Tori turned pale. I reached for her hand under the table, but she pulled away. She was trying to keep it together. The worst part wasn't the lies. It was the gaslighting. They made it seem like we were the unstable ones, like we'd imagined everything. Jeremy's friends smirked through the whole thing, feeding off the chaos like vultures. When we left that night, Tori didn't say a word in the car. Her silence said everything. The next morning, rumors started spreading at her workplace. Colleagues whispered behind her back. One even asked if she was okay mentally. It didn't take long to figure out that Jeremy's friends had planted stories about her having breakdowns and emotional outbursts. Her supervisor called her in for a private meeting, just to check in. But the message was clear. Her reputation was being quietly dismantled. That evening, she looked at me with hollow eyes and said, "I'm applying for jobs in Seattle. I can't do this anymore." I nodded, because deep down, I already knew we were never going to fix this family. We had to leave it behind. This wasn't just about harassment anymore. It was about survival. We started packing that very week. Tori got a promising lead on a nursing position in Seattle, and I began remote interviews for jobs in property management. It wasn't ideal. We were leaving behind our home, our routines, everything familiar, but there was no other way. We were being pushed out by a family that refused to see the truth. But fate had one final blow to deliver. Just before our planned move, we got an invitation to my cousin Megan's wedding. Tori didn't want to go, and honestly, neither did I. But Megan had always been kind to both of us, and she wasn't part of the toxic circle. She'd even reached out recently, apologizing for the way the family had treated Tori. So we went, quietly, sitting in the back, trying to avoid attention. For a while, it seemed like we'd made the right call. The ceremony was beautiful. Tori smiled for the first time in days. We stayed away from my parents and from Jeremy, who thankfully had been keeping his distance. Until the reception. At some point, I stepped away to speak with an old friend near the bar. When I came back, Tori was gone. I looked around, my heart pounding harder with each passing second. I finally found her outside, near the parking lot, shaking, eyes wide, makeup smudged, and Jeremy was standing over her. His hand was still clenched. Her dress was torn at the shoulder. My stomach dropped. I ran. I don't remember the exact sequence of what happened next. I only remember rage. I tackled him. Security pulled us apart. Someone called the police. Tori kept repeating, "He grabbed me. He tried to hurt me," over and over. There were witnesses. This time, there were witnesses. Jeremy was arrested right there on the spot. Even then, my parents tried to interfere. My mother was sobbing, begging the officers not to take him away. My father shouted that Tori had set him up, that this was all a plan to ruin the family name. I stood there, blood on my knuckles, watching the last pieces of my childhood shatter in front of me. We left the reception in silence. That was the last time I saw my parents in person. The following week, we moved to Seattle. I thought it would feel like freedom, and in a way, it did. But there was also grief. You don't just walk away from your family without pain. You carry that loss, even when you know it's for the best. Tori started her new job. I found work with a property development firm. We began to breathe again, and slowly we began to heal. But peace never lasts forever. One night, months later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was my mother. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was shaky. "Daniel, it's Rachel, Jeremy's wife. He's been hurting her." She came to me. I didn't know what to do. I felt cold all over. Rachel had married Jeremy just a year before. We hadn't spoken since. Now she was living my nightmare. According to my mother, Rachel had finally gone to the police. But the worst part? My father had been helping Jeremy hide the abuse. He'd pressured Rachel to stay quiet, used connections to keep things from escalating. This time, though, Rachel wasn't backing down. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. All I said was, I hope she gets justice. Then I blocked my mother's number. Rachel didn't stay silent. She spoke to the police, filed a formal report, and shared everything. The bruises, the threats, the recordings she'd secretly taken. And she didn't stop there. She told them about my father's role, how he'd warned her not to ruin the family, and even offered her money to stay quiet. That, as it turned out, was obstruction of justice. Both Jeremy and my father were arrested. Jeremy faced multiple charges: domestic violence, intimidation, stalking. My father was charged with witness tampering and aiding in the concealment of abuse. For the first time in years, the law was finally catching up with them. Rachel's parents stepped in, providing legal and emotional support. Tori, through my cousin Megan, reached out to Rachel and offered to help however she could. The sisterhood between victims, between survivors, ran deeper than blood. I admired their strength more than words could ever express. In the weeks that followed, I started to realize something terrifying yet liberating. This had never just been about Jeremy. It had been about a system, a family culture that protected the wrong people, that turned victims into villains and called it loyalty. My father had protected a monster. My mother had looked the other way, and the only way to break that cycle was to walk away completely. And so we did. Tori and I stopped checking in. We removed all remaining family contacts. We changed our numbers. We focused on the life we were building, a life where boundaries mattered and love didn't come with conditions. And then, something beautiful happened. Emma was born. Our daughter came into the world with a quiet cry and wide, curious eyes. Holding her in my arms, I felt something click inside me. A new chapter. A clean slate. She would never grow up around the toxicity that shaped me. She would never be told to stay quiet to keep the peace. She would know what love looks like when it's safe, when it's real. Jeremy eventually took a plea deal. He's serving 8 years in prison. My father's real estate license was suspended, and his case is still ongoing. My mother finally started therapy. She filed for divorce and moved into a small apartment near my Aunt Claire. I haven't spoken to her since. Rachel continues therapy and is actively working with prosecutors. She's rebuilding her life, piece by piece. Tori and I stay in touch with her quietly through Megan. Sometimes, surviving means forming your own tribe from the wreckage. The family is split now. The younger cousins support us. The older generation, they still make excuses. They still whisper about family shame. Let them. I don't owe them silence anymore. Now, we live in a quiet neighborhood outside Seattle. I work in a local property company. Tori is thriving at a pediatric hospital. Emma laughs more than she cries. Our home is warm and peaceful. Sometimes we talk about the past, but more often, we talk about the future. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't have to stay loyal to people who break you. You can choose your own family. And for Emma's sake, I'm glad we did.